it doesn't matter if you're 6 months into your career, a year, whatever, you're already ahead of somebody else, right? Help them get in. It's not going to take jobs away from you. It's in fact going to help you, man. Like when you start referring right people trust you a little bit more.
Welcome to the Next Level Journalist, where you will hear from some of the best journalists in the business or who have been there, done that, and willing to share with you what they've learned so you can get better, faster.
My guest today can be found hosting live events, hosting podcasts, whether that's his own platform or Houston ABC 13 Sports, No Layups, and I'm sure he does probably a whole lot more that he's going to fill us in on. I told him prior that I'm going to let him fill in the blanks because he literally does a little bit of everything. Raheel Ramzanali, thank you so much for making time for this today.
Man, thank you so much, Kyle. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me as well. Just to learn from you and what you do. I mean, especially... as I was telling you before, as I was digging around trying to figure out, what does this guy do? Because he's doing everything. So, you tell us, I guess, bring us up to speed with what you do today. But let's go backwards first and kind of talk about your career journey and what got you into, what you're pursuing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go back to high school. And you and I are about the same age. I think we're a few months apart where, when you back in high school, if you're a sports fan, you had sports radio and the local news, right? And of course, ESPN was this huge monster of this is where you go to watch SportsCenter, and it was the hottest thing in the world. So I loved watching everything NBA. I was on NBA.com. I'm watching SportsCenter all the time, and I'm a huge hoops head. And I saw that you're working out still, playing hoops. I love that. Maybe we can talk about that, but. I wanted to play in the NBA, like every kid that played basketball. And then I soon realized when I was on my JV team that, okay, I'm probably not going to play in the NBA and I need to focus on something else. So, you fast forward to senior year, my grades were okay. I wanted to go to UT and I applied for this scholarship. And when I was in there, it was a scholarship through my mosque. And the people on the panel, we had to do an interview and they're like, so what do you want to do? Why should we give you the money? And I said, well, because I want to be a dentist. And my brother, who at the time was going to dental school, I was like, well, that's all I know. I want to be a dentist, and I hated science. I didn't want to do that. So they're like, afterwards, one of the guy comes to me, he's like, come on, I know you don't want to be a dentist. What do you really want to do? And, that kicked me in the butt. I was like, man, what do I want to do? So I said, well, I love listening to sports radio. I love watching sports on TV. Why can't I do that, right? Right now, this is a great time for minorities in journalism and in sports because you see that representation that back in 2003, 2002, you didn't see that, right? Like it was rare, especially a Pakistani guy. So it was impossible, basically. So I was like, well, I think I can do that. So I did. I was like, let's see what happens, right? I want to do this. So I went to UT for broadcast journalism. I actually applied to the wrong school. I applied to RTF. I didn't know broadcast journalism had its own program and journalism had its own school. So the dean was like, well, dude, you have great grades. What are you applying to RTF for? You should be applying to journalism. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And that's where I didn't have a mentor or anything that has done this, right? Mm-hmm. So I did that. I went to UT, graduated, did great. I loved it. The program was excellent, got me ready. And I wanted to do TV. I wanted to do sports TV. But when I got there after doing a few internships, I said, man, I don't know. I like doing sports radio a lot more. I love just being able to create content for 2 hours as opposed to a 3-minute block. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting into sports radio. I got really lucky. I did a bunch of internships again. Back then, unpaid internships were the norm, so you just did them, right? Mm-hmm. And networking led to a job in Houston right out of college, which was I still can't believe I got it, but it was a startup radio station called 1560 The Game, and it was a bunch of veteran radio guys, some newbies forming this new station in Houston. So I was the lowest man on the totem pole, and I worked my way up. Had a great time. That was where I learned everything: how to report accurately. How to host shows, how to create digital content back when nobody was creating digital content because I couldn't crack the lineup. So I was like, well, let me create my own content for the website because we're getting tons of traffic. I want people to see me. So I did that for a little bit. Then I got burned out like many people do when you're the lowest guy on the totem pole and you're not making much money. And then I got into social media marketing because, when we were in college, Facebook just came out and Facebook was just for college campuses, right? You have to have that college email address. And then they opened it up afterwards. And I was like, well, there's going to be millions of people on here. There's got to be a job where you can market your products on Facebook. So I got into that, got a job with a local company, and then eventually worked for Landry's restaurants. So I was at their corporate office working with Tillman Fertitta and all those guys. So that was pretty cool. And then I got lucky again. I got back into radio with ESPN Houston and did that for 4.5 years. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19 last year, the pandemic, I got laid off because of financial reasons. When there's no sports, there's no live events, there's no money coming in. So now I'm just doing all sorts of stuff, man, taking this freelance opportunity to work with several companies, doing stuff with ABC 13, as you mentioned. We just wrapped up our season of No Layups with David Nuno. He's now going to Texags. I did some sports anchoring with the local TV company called NTV, did that. And, of course, doing the SaberCats gig and my podcast and anything. I'll take any freelance job because it's fun doing that. Like, I never thought I would be doing just freelance work, but you have the flexibility and the schedule opens up and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, freedom is what comes to my mind, right? I've got two girls, one's 2, 1 8, and married. So we're all about trying to find that freedom. That we have a different definition of success these days. When I was in TV, it was about climbing that ladder, but now to be my own boss, sitting here talking with Raheel all the way in Texas, I'm in Kentucky, just to be talking about this industry, they have the freedom to do that. Because we have that ability now just to connect with one another. So I love that entrepreneurial mindset that you have. Like, you know what, you are your own boss. You're creating your own stuff and making it work for you. And it seems like it's working well. I mean, like I said, it seems like you got your hands in a whole lot of different areas.
Yeah. And that's, like part of my network. I truly believe in a great network, right? Like you help out your network, they're going to help you out. I've always been a person that if somebody needs help, and I always end every conversation with, let me know how I can help, right? Because I want to be able to help my network because I can connect a lot of people, which we're lucky because we get to meet a lot of people, right? In what we do or what we did. And to be able to connect people is the best thing you can do for somebody else. And when I got laid off, I was like, man, what am I going to do, right? There's no jobs at that point, right? Last May, there's literally no jobs. There's no openings. So I went to my network and said, all right, it's time for you guys to repay that favor and let me know how I can help out with your company. And man, it was awesome. Like my network came up huge. And, like every week I'm getting something new. Like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to help out with this? I'm like, absolutely. And the flexibility, Kyle, to say, no, I actually don't want to do it. I don't, you know what? I'm good. I like the fact that I can spend time with my daughter and my wife and be around the house and, call my day at 3:30 or 4 o'clock and work out with buddies and be like, cool, I'm good. Like, I want to go play basketball today. You know what? I'm not stuck here till 10 p.m. working on a newscast, or I'm here stuck at a radio station event where I don't want to be. So it's pretty cool. And, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I'd love to dive down into that entrepreneurial path, but I'm going to hold myself back because, addressing aspiring journalists. So, because you and I obviously have, like you said, we have a lot in common from one, just our age and the path that we've taken, but even to what we're doing today. But I love how you mentioned that network thing because that was, that law of reciprocity. It's going to happen. You build up that network. You take care of others, it's just going to naturally take care of yourself, just like it has done for you, it's done for me. So with that said, I want to be able to tell whoever, or you tell, I guess, whoever is aspiring to jump into I say the TV industry, that's just the media industry, right? Just because it's no longer just TV. Radio people, bloggers, they're a visual medium now.
I would even say, Kyle, it's content creation now. Like, the whole industry can be defined as content creation. Can you create content for TV, for radio, for podcasts, for social media? Because that is the job now. It's no longer just one thing, right? And that is the biggest thing. So I'm going to start with 3 tips. Okay, number 1, this is the most important tip. I tell every student I mentor, be yourself. It sounds so silly. It sounds so cliche, be yourself, but truly be who you are. If you are a weird person, if you are a person that enjoys certain things that aren't, the norm, enjoy them, talk about them, because interesting people, people who are not just script readers or just doing updates and stuff on radio. Those guys are no longer around in the industry. Now, people want interesting people on their platforms because that brings in a new audience. And also, I think it helps you connect with the audience, right? So be yourself. Number two, take care of your network. Your network will take care of you. As you mentioned, as I just mentioned, truly do that. Like, really focus on that. I'll go back to my story at UT. So I randomly emailed when I was a sophomore a guy I used to listen to at Sports Radio 610, Jeremy Foster. I was like, man, he sounds like a cool guy. You know what? I'm just going to email him, tell him my situation, that I just want an internship. I listen to you. I'm going to be in Houston. I just want to come and shadow. Just let me get in the building at Sports Radio 610. And he was kind enough to pass the email on to the programming director, Chance McLean. Chance was like, come on, man. Come in for an interview. Let's see what you're about. And he loved me, and I went in there, and he was like, hey, I'm going to need you to wake up at 3:30 a.m. every single day for your summer to come set up a remote broadcast for John and Lance. I was like, 3:30 a.m. for a college kid? Are you kidding me? Like, and I'm not getting paid? I said, absolutely, I'll do it, man, because I get to be at Texans training camp. I get to be with radio legends, learn from them. I have downtime with them. That's huge as well because you can pick their brain. So fast forward, I did a great job. I think I missed one broadcast. I think I overslept one time, which was, and like out of 50 broadcasts, one isn't bad. But he loved me. Chance loved me. John and Lance loved me. And then you go to 1560 the game. Those are three guys that are starting the station. And guess who they first thought of? Like, we need an entry level guy. How about that Raheel kid that did a great job last summer? Why don't we bring him in? So your network, you have to do good work too, okay? Like, you have to actually perform and show up on time and, take every task with enthusiasm. But that network will help you out. So really focus on that. And then number three, create content. Create as much content on different platforms as you can, because now companies are looking for a person that can do 4 or 5 jobs under one job, right? Like, you look at any TV opening now, it's no longer, hey, we just need a reporter. No, we need a reporter that can shoot, that can edit, that can anchor on weekends for us, that can host a digital town hall for us, can host a podcast for us, that can, do social media for us if we need, all of this stuff. So you have to get good at that. And you naturally will, because every job is going to make you do it. So don't stress out that you don't know it yet or you're not good at one thing. You're going to do it. Like, that's just part of it.
Yeah, I want to make one thing clear for people who watch and see and hear this. You mentioned about how you got lucky along the way, but what I hear is, the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get, right? I mean, It's not like you just bought a lottery ticket and struck it rich.
That's true.
You put in the work, right? I mean, there's something to be said about, at least that's what I tell my girls. Like, look, you work hard, you're going to catch breaks along the way. So that's clearly, it sounds like that's what's happened for you. But with that said, how have you developed your skills in being so versatile and offering so much? How do you think you've developed your skill set?
Yeah, man, my skill set is the same thing I just said. Like, you have to do all these random things, right? You have to get good at them. So when I first started, I thought I was just going to be doing radio and that's it. And like maybe some updates, maybe writing some scripts, that's it. But as you progress and the medium changes, now we're doing digital content and you have to get good at editing, shooting on the fly off of really bad cameras, on computers that are really slow. Like, you just make it work somehow, some way, right? So you have to get good at basically learning how to hack the system, right? Like, can you edit on a old computer that the station provided and figure this out? And that was early on, right? Then I got social media. Like, I was like, hey, I need to learn this because I know this is the future, right? So you just start following people, you start Googling, you start watching YouTube videos and learn how others are doing it and learn with that. And then most recently, as I'm trying to transition into more TV and trying to be on camera more, one of the pieces of advice I got from some people was, hey, you got to get better at reading prompters. So I said, all right, well, let me go find a gig where I can write my own script, read it, edit my own stuff like a sports anchor would do, right? So I started doing that with NTV Houston, did that for about 6 months where every day I'm doing it. So I practiced. And you just got to put your ego aside and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. So I'm going to learn it. And then, yes, I might be good at something, but you're not good at this. So knock it off, right? Like, don't think you're going to be great at this. You're going to suck at first. And just get going and learn and try to put that ego down and get better and better every single day. And then hopefully that leads to another opportunity.
Yeah, and so much of what I hear, like you mentioned how you didn't have a mentor early on, and yet you found a way to network and to reach out to those people. And it's never been easier to reach out and connect with people. And clearly, so bringing someone like you on, when I asked Drew Doherty about, hey, who do I need to talk to? Again, I told you beforehand, you immediately came to mind, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, because the right people giving the right message and wanting to help people along the way, right? I mean, the wrong people, they won't even respond to you, but more than likely, the right people will. So I love everything you shared so far, Raheel, and I'm going to press you a little more on the maybe the advice or the lessons learned. How about that? Some from your trials and your challenges along the way. Anything you can reflect on and say, I remember that season. And obviously the season we're in is a difficult one, right? Still, even to this day, that we're getting back to normal, if you will, whatever that is anymore. So what are some lessons that you've learned that you can pass along and say, hey, I remember when this happened, or I covered this story, or I went to this event, and I got better from this?
Yeah. One, I'm going to start with career advice with closed mouths don't get fed. Like, it really... It's true. Like, I think you and I are the same way. We just like, okay, put our heads down, work, and good things will come, right? And that's how I used to be, where I was like, man, good things are going to happen. I'm going to trust that my work is going to rise and the cream will rise to the top, all that, all the cliches, right? And that's just not true, unfortunately, in the industry, right? You have to ask for things, right? And like, that's a lesson I learned at my previous job, where I did everything for the company. I did, I was going out doing above and beyond stuff, taking to the digital game to the next level, all that stuff. But I never asked for, hey, I want to be considered for this position, or, hey, I should be considered for this, or, hey, I want a raise. Like, just simply, hey, I would love a raise. It'd be nice. And every time you would kind of float the idea out to somebody, they'd be like, no, I don't, it's probably not a good idea. You don't want to ruffle feathers. No, forget that. Like, ask for stuff, right? If there is an opening that you think you should be in consideration for, ask for it. The worst thing is going to be they're going to say no, right? I did that most recently. Like, I'll message people and be like, hey, man, I would love to work with this person, or I saw you guys are going to have this opening here pretty soon. What's happening? Like, I would love to do this, right? Ask. Trust me, even even if you're an entry level person or you're just getting whatever, ask. Okay, just the worst thing's gonna be no. So that I want to do that. Like, please do that. Like, because that's one thing I regret, is not asking for certain positions and just trying to go through the process. The other thing is, let me think. What other? I'm trying to think of stories where that would help kids today, or mentor, that don't have mentors, right? And as you mentioned, the biggest thing for me is reaching out to people that I respect their work, or I want to eventually do what they're doing. Even now I do this. I'll message them and ask them for a quick call. Like, hey, can I just ask you a few questions how you did this, or advice on how to, eventually get to where you are? Do that. And as you mentioned, if good, like, most people are kind enough to respond, and you can kind of feel the vibes, right? Like, who is into that, who isn't. And do that. You just message them and see. And I tell every kid or student that I mentor that ask people. You asked me, so why wouldn't you ask somebody else, right? And then also give back. I think that helps a lot. Like, from an early, as I mentioned, like, from an early point in my career, I didn't have a mentor, but my whole goal is, if there is if there's a minority who wants to get into the medium and they saw me, they're like, hey, man, this Dumbo's doing it. Why can't I do it? Message this Dumbo. Let me help you get in, right? And I take pride in that. And you should too as well. If you're listening, it doesn't matter if you're 6 months into your career, a year, whatever, you're already ahead of somebody else, right? Help them get in. It's not going to take jobs away from you. it's in fact going to help you, man. Like when you start referring right people, people trust you a
Yeah.
little bit
I
more.
mean, yeah, gosh, that's nail on the head, right? I mean, as soon as you said that, like,
Hmm.
I thought about how some people, a lot of people have a scarcity mindset. Like, oh, if I help someone else, it's going to take something from me. But again, I don't think I know. Everything you just shared there was just nail on the head. And I love the asking element. I'm with you. Like, when I was an intern,
Yeah.
I can reflect back and think, man, I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't ask to do any dry runs on the set, or I didn't ask to do enough stand ups. I didn't
Yeah.
ask. I mean, I cannot. And look, if they don't give you the opportunity to say, hey, what do I need to do to get the opportunity? How do I develop these
Yeah.
things? So, all that stuff, just gold, Raheel. I love it, man. I'm going to leave this last one up to you because I want to respect your time because I know you're a busy man now. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share that you think, you know what, I need to get this off my heart, off my mind for whoever sees this, that this can help them get better, or this can help them avoid
Mhm.
a mistake that I may have made. Um, Anything at all. Like I said, I know you've already shared a tremendous amount, but anything else
Yeah.
that you just want to, part with?
I would say keep a balance. The one regret I have early in my career when we're pulling, 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks where you're just constantly at work, right? Like, and you just want to get better at stuff and you want to climb the ladder, all of that. Like I reflect back when I'm, 22 when I started in Houston. So from 22 to 26, I mean, I'm working almost every single day, late nights, right? Because baseball games go until 11, and
Right.
then you got to go to the clubhouse and get all that stuff. And then if you want to anchor or if you want to host something the next day or you want to do a report, you got to be up early. So it was just like that's just part of it, right? But find a balance, like truly find a balance. Because the one regret I have now is like, okay, I don't have the flexibility to call up a bunch of buddies and be like, hey, let's go on a road trip or hey, let's go do this, right? So find a balance between work and life, right? So whether for me, when I first started, I was like, man, I'm like you, like I need to be in the gym. I need to be getting better at hooping, flag football, personal fitness goals, whatever it is. And I lost that balance, right? And that kind of sucks. So keep that balance. I know it's hard. I know I'm saying this, and a young journalist is like, dude, we're working 70-hour weeks. Like, what do you want us to do? It's hard. Find 30 minutes. Find an hour. Be brave enough to say, no, I don't want to work that shift. You know what? I'm going down to the beach with a bunch of friends. Like, I'm going to go enjoy my time because you won't have that flexibility as you get older. You get more responsibilities that you can't say no to, right? In the industry. So be brave enough to say no and really find a balance because that will help you avoid the burnout. Like
Yeah.
so many journalists and hosts and people working in content creation eventually get to that point where it's just like, I'm done with this, right? Like I'm not making enough and I don't have time to do other stuff. I'm neglecting family and friends and it's a bad feeling. So do that, man. Like that, even at my last job, I'm like, man, I'm good. I don't want to go do this thing, right? Because I want to go play hoops or I want to be able to spend my Saturday morning at a farmer's market, right? That's what I want to do. I don't want to go to host this random event. So I'm sorry. I'm saying no. Give it to somebody else. It's fine.
Yeah, I just reiterate what you said about the balance. You mentioned going to the gym. Like I've looked back, it's just been something that I've been into since I can high school. So 20 years, like it's been a part. It's just a habit. I habitually just do it 4 or 5 days a week. But I think back, like, man, why didn't I have a better balance of feeding my mind rather than just feeding the muscles? Like if I'd invested in reading and podcasts weren't a thing in 2000 and I guess 2000ish when I started
Yeah.
working out physically. But it's like, man, if I would have had a better balance of where my mind would be if I'd have spent that investment there. But just having that not just a work life balance, just the balance in making you a better human being
Yeah.
can pay huge dividends on your career as journalism and as a journalist or whatever it is, content creator that you pursue. At least as I reflect back, thinking, man, if I could have done it differently, I would have invested more in the thing between my ears, right? So that's
Yeah.
great.
And I think a part of that is, like having experiences in your life will also help you see the world in a different way, right? Like I think back when I first started, it was all sports.
Yep.
Sports. Oh, sports is the most important thing. It's not the most important thing. In fact, it's like at the end of the day, it's literally the least important thing people care about sometimes, right? But what they do care about are experiences. And hey man, did you guys notice that I went and like for example, I went down to Galveston and we saw this. Did you guys notice that? Like, has anybody else noticed this weird thing here? And you'll get a ton of phone calls like, yeah, I did notice that, right? Like, or something about your city, right? You go experience something in your city and you go, have you guys experienced this? And sure enough, a lot more people relate to experiences than, did you guys see that one play in the third quarter with 4 minutes left? Nobody's going to remember that, right? Like, it's just not logical for people to remember things like that, but they remember those experiences that you might share with them because you're out there experiencing life. And that is, again, going back to be yourself, be interesting, right? People want interesting personalities on all their platforms, and that's so important. And like after I left radio for the first time, I had more time to, read more books, listen to more things, watch more documentaries. Heck, for a year, I didn't watch sports at all. I'm watching all these documentaries, learning about new things. And that shaped my personality more than it did in the last 4 years. And that helped me apply different things when I got back into radio. And also at my current, like with social media, when I was working there, how can you apply these things, these new experiences, these new, things that you've learned to your content that you're creating on social media? So really like be about life experiences. I think that makes, one, your life a lot easier, and two, it helps at your job.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it probably made you better at your job by being a little more than one dimensional.
You find
right?
more stories too, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're out and about, when you're in the community, when you're doing things, you'll notice things like, man, this is a pretty interesting story, or why is this happening, right? You'll start asking these questions, and you can bring that up in your in your meetings, and you go, hey man, I saw this interesting thing when I was at the beach. Have we ever covered this? And more than likely, no, because a lot of people in this industry are not that interesting. Like they just do their job, they go home, they're always stressed out, and they're not having these life experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Like almost think like a customer, right? Where you learn in marketing, think like your customer and go experience things and see it from their perspective. I've been huge in the last few months on user experience. Like I've taken courses on this, and like how can you help with thinking like a user, right? And that helps a lot, and that goes back to life experiences, experiencing it from their mindset, their perspective, and it'll help you a lot.
Yeah, if anyone's wondering, like, what does this have to do about TV journalism? Everything, because it's about your viewer. Like, how are they experiencing it, right? So, hopefully, they can connect the dots. So much great stuff for Raheel. And like I said, I want to respect your time. I know we went a little longer than I promised you. We're almost at 30 minutes on the dot, but
Good.
It's been great, man. It's been great getting to know you a little better, and everything that you share. Because I have no doubt anybody that sees this just got better from listening to your experiences and all the information, the value that you just added to them.
My pleasure. And I tell every single person this: if you want to reach out to me, you have questions, you have concerns, you just want to talk to somebody, find me. You can find me on Twitter at @_Raheel, on Instagram at Raheel Doing Things. Message me, comment. You can find me. I respond to almost every single tweet, message I get. So please don't be afraid to reach out to me, because I love helping younger journalists or anybody. Like I like helping, because I know that's one, it's fun, right, to like see somebody else's career take off, but two, I know what it means to help out somebody and like what that feeling is, because I've gotten that help. So I want to pay it forward as well.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, everyone. So I reached out to Raheel, and he literally responded, I think, within like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a mutual connection, but he's definitely walks the talk. And I'll put all of Raheel's information in the description below for those who don't know already. Always put their contact information there. So definitely look him up, follow him, ask him questions, just like he talked about.
Please,
it'll make
ask
a huge
away.
difference. So you're the man, Raheel. I appreciate
Thank you so much, Kyle. I appreciate it, man. This is awesome. Great to see you doing some good stuff, and seeing you in your next part of your career, man. This is awesome.
And thank you for checking out this channel. If you found this content beneficial, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone you think might find it beneficial as well, because this channel was simply started and created to serve you, to help others grow, to learn how other successful TV journalists do or did it. So take what serves you so you can get better faster and reach your next level.